Don in London, hello. It's 3rd of November. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or both in my case. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things. Trying to be in the right place, with the right people, doing the right things, having the right things. Life run on trying to be perfect, I guess. Perfect for others, perfect for me. I never realised it was looking for perfection. I always thought it was trying to be good enough and trying to make sure I made events special enough to attract people into my life, or to be attractive to people in their lives. Striving to be okay. But unfortunately for me, drink did do some damage along the way. Alcohol. First drink fixed my feelings. The very first drink I took fixed something in me. I felt happier about life. Feelings were less fraught, less fearful, and I seemed to blend in somewhere or other. Could blend into the background or blend into the foreground, but it was out of the ordinary. I didn't realise that I was actually fixing myself and my feelings as I went along, and this continued for many a year when I grew up, and I became dependent, and then as dependency wears on, addiction happens. So before we know where we are addicted to a substance or a set of behaviours which are not very helpful, neither to us or anyone around us, because when we get to the point where we cannot stop drinking and we're always fixing what is going on as best we can, we are out of control. We are dependent and addicted. And from there, it's a very difficult journey back to what might be considered ordinary life. And what I found is that now I don't fix my feelings. I know what they are. I try not to suppress them. I can deal with them as they are happening. And as I deal with them as they are happening, then the actions and activities are based on reality rather than something I thought it ought to be. So less distorted, less extreme. The highs and lows, where life is not really, it can't be maintained in those extreme behaviours, high or low. So I'm lucky to be alive. I feel okay. I've had a good morning. I'm late doing my video. It was more important to be out helping and supporting someone else this morning and then come home, do the video. So I'm slightly out of whack and slightly, I suppose I'm happy, actually, happy that things went as well as they could in a difficult situation, not attaching blame, just dealing with facts of a situation and understanding everyone's point of view rather than trying to establish a particular point of view. So that's how it goes sometimes. Goes as well as it can, given what we have to work with. And I'm glad that I'm able to do these things, and I'm glad and I'm pleased that I was able to support another person dealing with an issue which was very difficult. And I'll leave it there on that one. So what's made all this possible? Real life, living reality, knowing how I feel, emotionally okay, and also being able to deal with the darker feelings of life, anger, frustration, all of that. How do I deal with it? And how do I deal with it on a daily basis? Well, I was very fortunate. I got medical help to get dry, and once dry from alcohol, everything was confusing and frustrating again. All my feelings came up straight away. I didn't know how to deal with it all. And the medical professional who helped me said, why not go to a fellowship where people know and understand how it is to be sober one day at a time, deal with your feelings and live reality. And I said, well, what fellowship is that? And he said, she said actually, but he said came later, that was a counsellor, but she said the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, oh, okay. Skeptically, but I was worn down and beaten, and I didn't know how to stay sober. I might have been dry, but I didn't know how to be sober, deal with life, live reality, know what my feelings are and what I can do. So it was very important to get help and support almost on a daily basis, or 24/7 daily, to try and keep sober. And the Fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, provided the support I needed from people who were in the know, had the knowledge of what it's like to be sober and come out of addiction into sobriety. I was very surprised. I wasn't very good at it to start with. It was itchy, scratchy and horrible, and I felt that the world was still against me, and the world of AA, where people seemed to be happy, those who'd been there for a while, and were happy, I couldn't understand why. So I stuck around long enough to find out why, and it was simply dealing with life on life's terms. So here I share about what is AA, and I share the AA preamble, which is shared at every meeting on this little card, and then something of the daily reflections, 1 page a day. So if I can't get to a meeting, I've always got this, and something just to think about. You know, the world is not all about me, I'm just a part of it, and how can I live my part of it well? That's how it all started. So I'll share the AA preamble, something of the daily reflections, and then something about the steps, 12 steps. Step 11 being the one I concentrate on in November, 12 steps, 12 months, and also something of the 12 traditions of AA, so you have a backdrop to how it all works, a background to it all. So starting with the AA preamble, which I always do, I eventually get there in the end. It's as follows, with a couple of additions by me, just to emphasise a couple of points. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. So it's a fellowship, a society. It's not a conventional organisation, and there's no one there to tell you what to do. Basically, that's the facts. Free choices in how we move into sobriety, and we learn from each other, sharing experience, strength and hope. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So there are no rules, laws, regulations to impose upon you. You just go there with a desire to stop drinking and find out how. And there are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions, so we don't have any external sources of money. All we do is put enough in the hat in meeting to cover tea, coffee and rent, or rent, tea and coffee, and some literature, and some basic admin. We help support the admin behind the fellowship, but we don't have leaders telling us what to do. So we work on the principle of freedom of choice to make decisions on all levels. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So whilst the fellowship is not allied to anything, everybody in it probably is allied to something, supports causes, doesn't support causes. I've just bought a little a poppy, and also a little rubber band thing with the British Legion information on it, because I choose to support people being looked after who've been in wars from wherever they were, and make a contribution as best I can. That's my choice. I also choose to help people as best I can as well, with what I know. If I know something, then I'll share it. But I have my own opinions, and that applies to everyone in fellowship. So you're going to hear a very diverse set of people talking about their backgrounds. At the same time, we look for the similarities that we may have with them. We hear our life story, we hear from others their life story, and we often hear that theirs is the same as ours, and we all face the same problems or predicaments along the way, which enabled us to fix ourselves with drink or behaviour or drugs. Whatever it is, we can get sober from all these things if we can listen enough to hear the message of how to be sober. And the biggest message I learned early on, I can't do it on my own. I've tried that. Self-will, willpower, ran riot, and I couldn't do it. So I did need help, and I suddenly found that I had a lot of people who were supporting me, just me trying to get sober. So it was always the many voices in fellowship which made the difference. And I always say, this is just me speaking. So if you want real sobriety, I can't do it for you, and I cannot do it on my own. I need all the people who help me every day keep sober. I cannot do it on my own. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child. And if the child isn't well, it probably takes the whole village to try and help that child get well. So I say these days, it takes a village to raise a child and a fellowship to keep me sober. But the responsibility is mine to work out my path. I am unique, authentic, and I'm me. And I don't have to be like other people. The only similarity I want is to be sober. And I want everyone else to be unique and authentic and on their path. Not my path, not my ideas, but their own. And that's how it is. That's how it works. We find out who we are today, and based on real life as it is, not some fantasy or idea of how it ought to be or how we deserve it, how it is real. So some of us are not well off, some of us are on our own, some of us are well off, I'm not, and some are married or in relationships. It's just as it is, and we work with where we are, sober, so we can heal and become a part of life again. That's how it works, and that's the preamble. So no one is there to tell you what to do. There are 12 steps to help me. That's the toolkit of how I get sober, sort out my life daily, and deal with life as it is. And then there are 12 traditions which hold the fellowship together. And that sounds quite simple, or maybe it's not simple. It didn't seem quite that simple when I first got there. And there were big words, a big word kept on coming up, God. The essence of God, or not God, is I'm not God, and the world doesn't revolve around me. So I needed to understand that the 12 steps of the fellowship are about living life as it is, and making the best of what is, and being a part of it, being included, and having something useful to do. And the first useful thing to do was get sober. And it took a little while for me to get back on my feet. I'd gone to a very dark place, and it was very lonely, and it was quite overwhelming at the start to suddenly be in the company of people who were sober, seemed to want to help me be sober, and some people just didn't seem to want to know me. But that's life. Some people I clicked with, some people I didn't. It's just like life. We find like-minded people who can help us, and if we ask for help and say, please help me, I don't know what to do next. As I've witnessed recently in many meetings, when people have actually said this, there's overwhelming help, and then you have to sort out, well, hang on a minute, I can't deal with all of you helping me. I need one or two people with some ideas maybe to help me right now. And then we sort of get to know one or two people, and it starts to click, gently, gradually. There is no quick fix into sobriety. It's as quick as we can go with what we have. And that can be any amount of time. And it's not a race to be sober. It's not about intelligence or lack of it. It's about being okay to learn again. And I had to start from scratch. Anyway, today's daily reflection is this: focusing and listening. And I've been doing that all morning, so my brain's a bit fried. November 3rd. There is a direct linkage amongst self-examination, meditation and prayer. A direct linkage among self-examination, meditation and prayer. Taken separately, these these practices can bring much relief and benefit. So self-examination, self-appraisal, meditation and reflecting upon what's going on, and prayer. Now, in my life I've been agnostic, atheist and believer. And I've come to an understanding that I'm not God, quite simply. I don't know it all, even though I'm reasonably okay with intelligence. I know enough about life and where I can go and what I can do. But if I don't ask people as well, or ask my higher power, when people say, oh my God, I need some help, that is as good as it need get, because I think wisdom often, or I feel it does, comes from other people. And this morning was a big listening exercise about what some people can do and what some people cannot do, what they're allowed to do and what they need to state in terms of a case about a situation. So self-examination, meditation and prayer have a place in my life. Taken separately, these practices can bring much relief and benefit. If I do my self-examination first, then surely I'll have enough humility to pray and meditate, because I'll see and feel my need for them. So trying to do it all on my own is an overwhelming prospect in many aspects of life, because we are so interconnected, so supported or supporting or supportive, that we need to reflect a little bit about what we are up to, how we fit in and what we may do. Surely I'll have enough humility to pray and meditate, because I'll see and feel my need for them. Some wish to begin and end with prayer, leaving the self-examination and meditation to take place in between, whereas others start with meditation, listening for advice from God about their still hidden or unacknowledged problems or defects. Still others engage in written and verbal work on their defects, ending with a prayer of praise and thanksgiving. These three, self-examination, meditation and prayer, form a circle without a beginning or an end. No matter where or how I start, I eventually arrive at my destination, a better life. So whether you are a believer or not a believer, self-appraisal, reflection, meditation and an exhortation to whatever it is, good conscience will do for a good start. In good conscience, what is the best of what can be today? Not just about me, but my situation and the people I'm with. And we start to benefit from that, and we start to learn a little bit more about what it is. Don't forget, when we're coming into sobriety, and it's about how to be open, honest and willing to keep on learning life again. How do I learn best? Well, by experience and by being with people and listening to their advice if I seek it, and realising sometimes when I get off the road and onto a beaten track, or just in the middle of nowhere, it's because I've tried to do it on my own, because I'm persevering. It's like putting together a piece of furniture, flat pack furniture, when it says 2 people required, and you try and do it on your own, and you wonder why things are still falling apart and it's a big battle. Well, if you actually got hold of a friend to help you put the flat pack furniture together, it's a bit like that when it comes to understanding what we can and cannot do. If we only have our perspective, we can be battling for a long time and feeling frustrated and isolated, and all we had to do was ask for help. And help comes in all sorts of ways. And when we help another person, we are also helping our own situation as well, because we are giving to others. And part of fellowship is given freely given, freely received. There are no conditions attached to being helped into sobriety and fellowship. But if a person can't help you because they don't have it within them to do it right then and there, they have to say, I'm not the right person right now for you. I've got too much on my plate. But there are other people you can ask. So it's not about you. It's about the situation I find myself in. So there is only so much I can do with anyone or everyone. Know my limits, know my boundaries, so I don't overstep, overpromise and find myself in a pickle where somebody's relying on me, then I cannot be reliable. That's a hard one. So, as it takes a village to raise a child, and a fellowship to keep me sober, if I don't have the links with other people who are helping me daily, or weekly, or monthly, whenever I ask them for help, because I have different people for different reasons now. If I don't look after myself, I can't offer any help to anyone else. And also, there is a limit to the amount of help I can give unless it's face to face. So I have to be careful. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's better to underpromise and deliver enough. So for today, this is what was going on for me. A wonderful morning, part of the solution and part of the process. I had courage and faith, able to be a friend and be there for another human is as good as it gets. It doesn't mean that it was a wonderful outcome. There's still a long way to go in some respects. But what it reminds me is to love people, be loved back and useful today. And that can be in any capacity. It can be helping a person across the road. It could be that on my way home I saw two of my mother's neighbours who I love, and I very rarely see them. And my mum loves them as well, and they wanted to know how my mother was, who is now far away in a different part of the UK. But the goodness of that is a few words shared of encouragement and support around a whole load of things, and they know my situation and what happened to me, and they're pleased that I'm still alive, let alone anything else. So it's good to see people, and this happens to me a lot because I've been in this area for many years. It's good to see people inside and outside fellowship, to have a balance in my life. Anyway, for another one for today, listening and meditation, or listening and reflecting on the big picture of what is happening around me. So in other words, I'm a part of the big picture. I'm not making the big picture, and I'm not controlling it. I'm powerless over people, places and things. Indeed, I can influence to an extent, but I can't have power over. It just makes life difficult if I try it. It'll get unmanageable very quickly, and it will frustrate me to death. Indeed, it could frustrate me to death. I can see my part in life, from starting over and learning everything anew. So I did. I had to learn how to live without a drink, and how to live without thinking I deserved something, or having expectations of life which would lead to resentment. So these days I don't have expectations which will lead to resentment, and so then I can be more clear in my outlook. What part am I playing in this? And that's as far as it goes. I understand my role, and that can be very frustrating, because often in the past maybe we thought we ought to be taking things over, or being taken over by other people who would show us the way. And the good news is, in fellowship we learn how to stand on our own 2 feet, but with support, and we're not alone anymore. And then asking for help to find my path, with humility to learn. I do not bow and scrape these days. So it's not asking for help and saying, please help me, and being subservient. It's simply asking for help, clarity, and seeing what I can and cannot do, to what extent I can be helpful or not, to what extent I can engage or not, to what extent it's okay or not. As I put in the action and practice, make mistakes, make progress, and listen and learn, life runs more smoothly today. And it has so far. So I'm not asking for more than or less than. I'm just saying, give me a bit of guidance, somebody, sometimes when I'm not quite right. And I do it face to face or with people close enough to me who know me well enough to give me advice. And that includes family. Advice from family, which I never really took before, but I do now. I do listen. And that's most important. Humility to keep on learning, make progress, make mistakes, and it's okay to ask for help. Anyway, there is more on my blog, and I don't intend to go on any more today. What helps me is simply the serenity prayer at any time of day. When things are going well, I might say, what can I do, what can't I do, where's the wisdom in this? I can get a bit off track and a bit up in the air, head in the clouds and feet on the ground nearly. Or it can be a big problem, or a problem where I may be stepping in when I ought not to, or stepping back when I should be stepping in. How does it work? How do I actually understand, and what do I learn? Well, the prayer of all occasions, which is an appeal to your good conscience more than anything, or to God, if that's how you understand it. And don't forget, it doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you believe in what you believe, and it's your choice. AA is not about imposing God on anybody. It's not a religious organisation. Far from it. It's a fellowship which helps us understand our emotional and spiritual condition in the moment. So knowing what our feelings are and being able to, spiritual, as it was explained to me, and I understand it clearly, is being able to cope with reality. So if we're able to cope with reality and know what our feelings are, we are better able to take the next right action and think appropriately, not from anger or ecstasy, from a high, but from a fairly solid place of feeling okay inside and able to stand on my own 2 feet with support if I need it. Can do, can't do is where it comes down to. What I can do, I can change my attitudes and behaviour. I may influence a bit, but I cannot change your attitudes and your behaviour, nor should I try. I can do, change me, can't change you. So this prayer to God or in good conscience helps me. It's a timeless piece of advice to oneself, and it is this: to God or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me always in the imperfectly perfect moment of now, and just for today.